Welcome inside the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center in Dallas, Texas for Blood and Thunder Roller Derby World Cup. I'm Cecil B. Puff Daddy, honored to be joined by the one, the only Plastic Patrick, as we continue our action today with Brazil versus Portugal.
That's right, Cecil. The pleasure is all mine. So happy to be here at the 2014 Blood and Thunder Roller Derby World Cup. More action from Group 2, as on this track we just saw France take down in a pretty decisive manner Switzerland. Now Group 2 continues here. We've got Portugal and Brazil. So a nice, historical matchup here as motherland will take on the country that they founded so many years ago.
Exactly. or as I might look at it, a great soccer matchup.
That too.
So when teams like this come together, you always want to talk about chemistry. And for Brazil, a lot of these players came from the same team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Brazil, definitely the league, the team from Sao Paulo. Mm-hmm. Very popular. In Portugal, definitely the city of Porto roller derby, very popular in the southern Portugal. But on that note, I think we should run down the rosters.
Let's do it.
Because you must be wondering, who is playing this bout?
Who are these wonderful women? So first for Brazil, we will have Bianca, also known as Lobster, plays up at Capital City. Also has been in Montreal for a while. It's Ba. Nanda is number 16. Tachi, 23. Hrox at 25. Mila at 33. Manu at 44, Pachi at 72, Leal at 86, G at 87, Dede at 107, and Paulina at 505.
And over for Portugal, we have 108 Deadly Rapunzel, 1083 Abracadabra, number 12 Anywhere, number 1314 Picante, number 138 Yokai Ono, number 2, Pinky Swears. 21, Big Joe. 25, Gorilla J. Number 27, Speedy. 314 is Blood Runner. Number 48, The Silver Surfer. 77 is Lily Lips. 84, Andrea. And 952, G.I. Jojo.
Which is actually pronounced ho-ho.
G.I. Ho-ho.
Ho-ho.
Ho-ho-ho-ho.
The only reason I know that is when I worked with the Hula Honeys of Jet City, they call me Don Ho-ho.
Gotcha.
Well, we will see Brazil dressed in their, that's almost orange, but it's supposed to be yellow, I think, with numbers you can read, and Portugal's going to drive us a little nuts. Just a little.
They are, well, us personally as announcers, because they'll be wearing the white, and their numbers are in a very shiny gold.
Fabulous gold.
Yes, which looks terrific as a color agencement, but for us to read, very low contrast. So we'll do our best here, and then when we get it right, you can just say obrigado.
See, what are your impressions of Roller Derby World Cup thus far? We've just played a few. We've had a few games played, but the intensity in this building is amazing.
Yeah. It was kind of to be expected, as far as I'm concerned, because I went into Roller Derby World Cup number 1 in Toronto, not really knowing what was going to happen. There were 13 teams, of which Brazil was one of them, and they were 12th. They were kind of the darlings of the weekend, and they unfortunately took a miserable beating, but they survived, and here they are again. But this time, 30 teams, much bigger venue, bigger production, 3 tracks, and people from all over the world, and this is just the first morning. The first morning of 4 days, and already it's kind of overwhelming.
If you happen to be in the Texas area or in Dallas, by golly, come on down and join us. K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. Heck, it's on the dart rail. You can get on down here. But if you're watching from around the world, down in Portugal, or over in Portugal where it's nighttime, or in Brazil where it's into the afternoon, we welcome you. And if you'd like to tweet us during the event, you can tweet me at Cecil B. Puff Daddy, and we'll even answer some questions if you have some. Sound good?
Get out of here. Absolutely.
Interactivity.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing.
How modern.
So The officials having last few bits of comments with both team captains. I think we're about ready to go. Things have been pretty much on schedule today, which when you think of a tournament, that's amazing.
Yeah, especially when you think of roller derby. You know, we're growing up. Roller derby's growing up.
Now, one thing I asked Derby Nerd in my last broadcast was the difference in strategy between a 20-minute half and a 30-minute half. Does it make that much difference?
Well, first of all, we should clarify that skaters will be allowed 7 penalty trips, just as if it was a full hour bout. However, 2 timeouts only, and 1 official review, which, you know, just like regular WFTDA bouts, will carry over if you are awarded the decision. 2 times 20 minutes doesn't make a difference. Well, it's, you know, probably go a little bit more than 2 times 30. You know, you want to leave it all on the track, especially with teams like Brazil and Portugal here, which are, you know, sort of in the mid-section of the ranking going into the tournament. They want to make it to the final bracket, and therefore they can't afford to lose this game.
Well, we are ready to get underway. Brazil and Portugal. It's Nunda going up against Blood Runner for the first jam. Portugal, Brazil from Dallas, Texas. And we are 5 seconds away from being underway here. Roller Derby World Cup presented by Blood and Thunder. Portugal in the white. Great pack action around into turn 2, but finding an opening for Brazil is Nanda, also known as the Brazilian nut. I might not give her a hug because I'm allergic to Brazilian nuts. Quick call off, didn't see any opening there, saw the other jammer coming around.
Yeah, 3 points for the Portugal jammer and 0 for Nunda, who was the lead jammer. So, wow. Portugal is the first showing at the Roller Derby World Cup. And, you know, in a team like that, it's kind of difficult to gauge where they will be, how they will play, because nobody knows who they are. So I think Brazil here is, you know, can't take this too lightly.
It's G against Picante for your jammer matchup in jam number 2. Always love seeing the blocking, and a huge block by Brazil's 25 Crocs. But your lead jammer is 13-14, Picante from Portugal. Coming up on her first scoring pass, huge hit, but it didn't take her down, skating sideways and backwards and outmaneuvering the last blocker, who was Rocks. And Portugal picking up the points here. The pivot providing almost extra security for G.
And they're going long. Going long, she's not calling it off. There she goes, just giving away. Points to Brazil, 4 points to Brazil.
And Picante called for a penalty.
Multiple player block on Brazil. This is the first power jam for Brazil.
G staying in just barely, but the Portugal blocking wall just couldn't keep up. And G going around for her own scoring passes on the Brazil power jam. G hit to the inside. She'll have to recycle. Always a strategy when they go back there.
Yeah, absolutely. Killing time. Killing time with that 30-second power jam. Yeah, one scoring pass for 5 points, but only almost took 25 seconds as the Portuguese jammer is coming back in right now.
And she comes in like she's a bowling ball through bowling pins.
Yep.
Everybody just moving out to the outside. And Picante back on the track, picks up 4 quick points. And we've got a heck of a jam going here. Picante starting her scoring pass, G just behind. And that does it for jam number 2. Action-packed, amazing jam for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Brazil, not that I know this for sure, but I think Brazil was going in here thinking, you know, Portugal has never played in the Roller Derby World Cup. No team from Portugal are, you know, making a splash on the international scene. So I think maybe they were underestimating them. And look at them, Portugal really taking it to the Brazilians. Brazilians, however, ahead 19-11.
Portugal with the mantra, can't block this. That's what you see on their t-shirts all over the convention center. Nanda going up against, I believe that's Annie Ware, but I'll have to double check that with my extra power glasses. Nanda's your lead jammer. She plays for the Philadelphia Roller Girls, the Philly Roller Girls to be exact. And she picks up the points, picking up 4.
Yep, quick call off. You can see she's got the reflex. As she was crossing the pack, she picked up that last point as she was calling it off, fully knowing that you were allowed to pick up points right up until that 4th tweet. Tweet, 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 tweet. You're still picking up points.
This time, Bianca, number 7, also known as the Lobster, who plays up in Canada for Capital City in Ontario, going up against Blood Runner, whose home team is Porto. And your lead jammer is Bianca. Here's a woman who commutes 3,000 miles to work. I hope she has a good iPod. Approaching the back of the pack is quite scattered. And Bianca saw what she needed to, picked up a quick 3 points. Both teams getting 3 points.
A late call off from Bianca. She was really trying to get those points, but unfortunately her blockers were at the back, therefore giving away points to the jammer who was not in the lead and chasing her, she picked up 3 points as well. Brazil at 31, Portugal at 14, 14:43 left in the first half. And 3 skaters in the Notorious RAD penalty box right now. 4, 2 blockers for each team.
Nanda is your lead jammer in jam number 5. It's spelled Nanda, it's pronounced Nunda, however.
Yeah.
My Portuguese isn't that great, but she'll call it off. No points on that one. The Brazilians actually helped us out quite a bit by giving us some words to live by, and we will tell you some of those as we go on.
Absolutely. I already plugged my obrigada, or obrigado, which is the only one that I knew.
So far in the lead jammer section, there's been 4 for Brazil and 5 for Portugal. She is not the lead jammer because she gets called for cutting the track. So we recycle all the way back where I believe it's number 12, Annie Ware. Annie Ware is your jammer for Portugal. She's trying to fight through the blockers led by 25 Crocs. Now she's getting some offensive blocking, which is trying to help her get through. But the double tough blocking wall of Crocs and Ba keeping her behind, and nicely done as she's whipped through by Juju.
Number 28 heading to the penalty box for a clockwise block.
Oh, huge hit as G goes down to the white wall. That one put on by Big Joe. Portugal will call off the jam. And that's our first major hit we've seen today.
And thanking a sponsor, Roller Derby Elite, Your Mom, Team Your Mom knows best. They are at www.rollerderby.com. Oh, so they got the rollerderby.com address. That's Roller Derby Elite.
Your mom
got the right address. Brazil 31, Portugal 19, 12 minutes left in the half.
Mila is your jammer for Brazil. Also goes by the name of Psycho Pixie, but as Brazil comes around trying to get their jammer out, it is 314 Blood Runner, the jammer and lead jammer for Team Portugal. Mila taking a seat in the notorious penalty box, so we are on a power jam. Blood Runner tried the apex jump, caught for cutting the track.
And she will head to the Notorious RD penalty box, which will spring up a blood runner for Team Brazil. Power Jam starting to make a difference here.
And I believe Brazil's about to be back at full strength, which will really help them.
Yeah.
Going left, going right. Great blocking there.
Yeah. Yeah, terrific pack work here. Penalty kill for Portugal. They're starting to bridge. One more to go in number 2. That's Pinky Swears. Oh, number 84, Andrea. Last line of D, but she gets called for a penalty. She was reporting to the Notorious RD penalty box.
Both jammers coming through. I'm amazed by the blocking of the Brazilians, using their arms in a legal way, but creating a wall that's fantastic.
Number 86, Leal, going to the penalty box on a clockwise block for Team Brazil.
So Mila with 10 seconds to go in this jam.
And we just had a lead change. Portugal has now taken the lead 33-31 over Brazil. And she's going back into the pack for more. Just on time, she picks up 5, and look at this. Portugal roars back. Just when you thought it was Brazil picking their stride, catching their stride rather, Portugal roars back. Portugal now at 38, Brazil at 35, 9:50 left in the first half.
And in pool play, we've seen a lot of blowouts, but this seems like a really good matchup.
Yep, this is a pool play. Well, there's, looks like Team France looks pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Team Switzerland struggled, and then these two are going to duke it out.
Staying in was the key for Nanda.
Panty has come off. Bride is now in the center of the track, so there is no active jammer for Team Brazil.
Wow, that's a big break there.
Excuse me, Team Portugal.
Oh! Nanda was called for cutting the track.
Yeah, and now I don't think they're aware that she's missing a cap. She doesn't know. There she goes. 13-14.
That's Picante.
Picante didn't know her cap had come off, so her initial pass did not count. She will have to perform that again because she's not the active jammer. Blocking to the head on Ba.
So 5 points.
They've awarded her 5 points.
Yep. So Picante, after picking up the drop panty, able to get some points and get some more. Nunda is lurking, however, coming up to the back of the pack, toppling into turn 1. Picante looks a little bit tired, now picks up the speed. Nunda.
Only 3 points, 1 no pass, no penalty.
Yep. Nunda comes to the back of the pack, and she just pushes her way through, avoiding the back blocks and just getting herself through for another 5 points.
Yeah, she plowed into Picante's side, and that is illegal target zone. The back you can't do, the side, all fair games.
Nunda just sliced her way through the pack, picking up another 5.
And now score is tied, 48-48.
And the jam is over.
5 more points.
Wow.
5 more points for Nunda. She gives her team the lead, 53. Oh, by 1 point, 53 for Brazil, 52 for Portugal. 7:22 left in the half. Unmatched quality, unmatched performance. Rydell Skates. RydellSkates.com.
Portugal has called a timeout. Wow.
No kidding.
I can only imagine how out of breath those young ladies are.
Yeah, that was a long jam. So if I understand it correctly, her initial pass was good.
Apparently so, because she
pass
had made a
good,
pass before the helmet panty had gone to the floor.
Oh, no, she dropped the panty right off the bat.
Oh, okay.
She dropped the panty right off the bat. The initial pass was good, and she lost the panty twice. Now, the moral of the story here is keep your panties on tight. or else you won't be scoring. Oh my Lord, where are we going?
But it's true, folks. It's
Yep.
true.
Yep. Again, this is the battle of Group 2, where Portugal and Brazil are with France and Switzerland. Just before we had France pretty much stick it to Switzerland in a score of 369 to 27. Now, these two teams, of course, will meet France and Switzerland. Everyone plays everyone in your own group, and then we determine who are the top two, and then they go on to the next round.
It's just great to see all the colors, hear all the accents.
Yeah.
I'll just say it. I love listening to the British women.
Well, you got a few here.
So Bianca will jam against Andrea, who plays for One Love Roller Girls in Antwerp, Belgium. And she is your lead jammer. Bianca finally out of the pack. Initial scoring pass, using the tightrope on the inside ring, picks up 4, and she'll call it off. She says, hey, we got the lead, let's take it and keep it.
Yeah, if the jammer's out, why bother drag it on and give up some more points? We'd like to thank Sure Grip Skate Company. They have the SG Video Cam, the Zombie, Enter the Win free stuff, and skate tune-ups right here at suregrip.com.
And now Brazil has called a timeout.
Yeah, Brazil's called a timeout. They're allowed one official review for the entirety of I think for the half. Mm-hmm. And it carries over if they are decided to have proven right.
Now, I understand we have our referees mic'd up, so we will possibly be able to hear the explanation.
And more on the the grouping matchups. Group 2, 1 and 2 will go up against 1 and 2 of Group 7, which is Canada, Argentina, Denmark. Of course, which we have no results for yet, except for actually Canada took on Argentina earlier today.
Correct.
And beat them. And then Canada will take on Denmark later on today. So we should have more on that for you later.
What?
But Group 2 action right here on track number 1, sponsored by Rollline.
Patrick, one of the things that I've enjoyed being one of kind of a host announcer, as the announcer for the Dallas Derby Devils, soon moving to Cincinnati, is all the Derby community around here has become second homes. Team Argentina was staying up at Kung Pao's house, playing against the Derby Devils, the North Texas Derby Revolution. This has really been like an up-and-coming thing for North Texas as a Derby community.
Well, and I think they're staying. A lot of them are staying. They're going to make the trip. They're not just coming for the weekend. I was past few days. I was in Austin, hanging out with the Texas Roller Girls, and their space. They have a beautiful space with 2 tracks. Fantastic space. I'm sure everybody's jealous. And they were giving clinics and renting out the space to whatever team wanted to train. So there were the Norwegians, the Greeks, the South Africans, the Argentinians, and they were all there to take the clinic and to rent out space, getting their, wheels rolling, just getting ready for this. And it appears we have an a referee mic. But unfortunately, you or us cannot hear what he's saying.
Unless you're a good lip reader, because I don't think the microphone came on.
No, I don't think it did either. But hopefully our producer, Miss Spider, will have more on that for you later. Again, Brazil is in the, shall we say, gold and yellow, and Portugal is in the white.
Maybe Orello.
Orello.
Nunda for Brazil, but the lead jammer belongs to the team in white. Those are the ladies from Portugal. And out on the jam, I will have to tell you on the next pass because I can't see the number. It's 3-1-4, and that would be Blood Runner. And just as we identify her, she picks up a single point.
Again, a point stolen by the jammer who was not in the lead. Another bit of a late call-off. This is definitely something that they will address at the halftime because you want to pick up points, but you don't want to give them up either. Timing is key here and calling off the jam right when you know that the other jammer is coming into the pack.
Anywhere for Portugal, G for Brazil. One thing I absolutely have enjoyed as part of the evolution of Derby is the fact that the pivots are almost like maestros now, controlling that defense.
Absolutely, they're practically jammers. With all the star passes happening, your pivot has to be someone that can jam.
Well, the Portugal pivot getting called for a penalty as Andrea will take a seat in the notorious penalty box. Both pivots will go in as Leal and the jammer for Portugal, Anywhere, will go to the notorious penalty box.
Absolutely. Brazil looking to capital on this. They are trailing by, now they're ahead by 2 points. They were just behind. Now this could be a good turning point for Team Brazil.
2 players from each team are in the penalty box. Brazil has one standing up as G picks up the big 5 grand slam for G of Portugal. And Portugal takes the lead, or maintains the lead.
Brazil.
I'm sorry, thank you. G will recycle back.
Yeah.
Looks a little woozy, just like I was a moment ago. G trying to get around the big booty block and is able to do it. Tight roping that outer ring, calls it off. And that was good for Brazil.
Absolutely. Brazil now sitting at 69. Portugal 57, 4:20 left in the half. Cecil, I think this is the closest match I've seen today.
Yes, by far the most competitive.
Oh yes. You want to arrange your brackets and your groups so that all the stronger teams go right through. But this is a battle that we're expecting to see on day 3. I mean, not necessarily those 2 teams, but I think this close of a game.
The quality of a battle, yeah. Well, we have an official review from the other side of the penalty box.
And why wouldn't they? And in the meantime, I will tell you about RollerDerbyT-shirtClub.com. Give the gift of roller derby that will last all year. A new derby shirt delivered every month featuring international roller derby teams. And what better place to talk about this than at the Roller Derby World Cup, where there are derby girls from all over the world.
A quick review. I think it might have been more of a tabulating type thing. It'll be Nunda going up against 13-14 Picante, who plays her derby in Helsinki, Finland for the Callio Rolling Rainbow. But Nunda is your lead jammer, the Brazilian nut from the Philly Roller Girls. Nice move at the back of the pack.
Yeah, Picante now out.
The Portugal blockers not quite in sync there. Nunda says, enough of this. I see that other jammer approaching.
Yeah, classic jam. Picked up for 4 points and called it right off, which brings Brazil to 73 and Portugal still at 57, 3:25 left in the first half.
And one thing that I'm seeing in this particular matchup that I haven't seen in previous ones is an urgency to get to the line. I mean, I think in other matchups, it's been like, okay, this is kind of one-sided. We don't have to get there. But with a competitive matchup like this, there's a race like out of pit road in NASCAR.
Yeah, they want the back.
Portugal breaks out in front with the lead jammer, and that is Andrea, I believe. Or Blood Runner, excuse me. Thank you.
Bianca heading through the penalty box. Notorious RAD penalty box. Now Brazil in some penalty trouble. No jammer and -2 blockers. Easy pass right there for Blood Runner and Portugal, excuse me. Now at 65, Brazil at 73. They are clawing back like they have so many times in this bout, and this is just the first half, folks.
Blood Runner took the inside line, then moved to the outside, picks up 5, and she'll call it off.
Yeah, 5 more points, and we have a 1-point bout, Cecil.
Wow.
Portugal 72, Brazil 1 point ahead at 73. 2 minutes left in the first half, and this feels like it's a final game. Incredible, incredible. The battle of the Portuguese language.
I was about to say, the lead jammers are the ones speaking Portuguese.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the few bouts where both teams will be speaking the same language. And let me tell you about always again fashion.
Fashion, that's something you do know about.
Most definitely. I'll tell you about fashion. But always again USA.com is fashion you can't live without. Now, it's a question of life and death. So don't go without always again fashion.
I wish you could see Patrick's shoes. We'll have to show them. They are the most awesome. They're boots, but oh my gosh. This man has taste.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
I have a black and white theme today.
I always have the red on. It's just me. Anyway, meanwhile, back in Derbyland, what a beautiful move by Annie Ware, just spinning around until she comes out of the spin cycle for the lead jammer and looking to pick up some points. Bianca right behind her. Big hit in turn 3 as the Portugal pivot goes down, but the Portugal pivot says, allow me to whip you around here and get some more points.
What a beautiful play by the Portugal pack. No wonder they just took the lead. All the Portuguese blockers went right to the front. All the Brazilian blockers were at the back, so their jammer could just squeeze right through and pick up the points, call it right off. Classic play of roller derby, and this gives them the lead, 76-73, favoring Portugal with 50 seconds left in the first half.
Brazil had the initial push, then Portugal has come back with the momentum.
Yep.
Nunda against, I believe that's Picante. And Nunda is out as your lead jammer. She's picked up most of the jams for Brazil. Huge block put on by a 3-wall there and calls it off just before Picante.
Yeah.
And you can see the frustration in Picante's face.
Yeah, great timing on this one. She picked up 3 points. There was one more there for her to get, but she didn't want to give up any points. So she called that off right on time. And where does that bring us?
Wow. 76-76. Are we going to get another jam? I think the clock's going to run out.
Clock's run out. What a fantastic first half, Cecil.
We have what I believe is the game of the tournament so far. It's Brazil and Portugal tied at 76. Plastic Patrick and I will be back with the second half. Stay tuned on Blood and Thunder's Roller Derby World Cup from Dallas. Cecil B. Puff Daddy, along with the one, the only, the fabulous Plastic Patrick. Love those hands.
Jazz hands. I know it's illegal, but I did it anyway.
Let's talk about the first half of this bout, and if you're just joining us, you've missed a great bout so far.
Where have you been? No obrigada for you. 76-76. That's the beginning of the story. Two Portuguese-speaking countries in the same group, Group 2, juking it out. I think Portugal probably the underdog in this one, as Brazil had been, the team that was at the previous World Cup. Nunda, definitely a factor for Team Brazil, anchor jammer for the Philly Roller Girls. Back and forth the entire time. 3 lead changes. 3 lead changes, people, 76-76, and we start over right now with the second half.
Nunda is jamming. What a surprise for Brazil. The Portuguese jammer already out for an elbow.
Yeah.
That's 3:14 Blood Runner. So Nunda on the power jam to start the second half. In what has been a game of momentum. Portugal had it early, then Brazil got it back. Trying to stay on her tippy toes is Nunda, but she has to recycle. And easily the most even bout of Blood and Thunder Roller Derby World Cup so far. Nunda coming around for another scoring pass, takes the outside line, trying to move by the very difficult, may I say it again, difficult blocking of Pinky Swears number 2 along.
Yeah, Nunda called it right off. Picked up another 5, which brings Brazil to 86. 10-point jam. 1 power jam, 10 points. That's a pretty good one for Nunda. And she shall come visit the amazing Bruised Boutique Skate Shop. Because your next online order, you can get 10% off if you just use the coupon code WORLD10. Check them out at www.bruisedboutique.com.
G for Brazil anyway for Portugal. As G seems to get the early advantage, and she does as the pack gets out of whack. And G will come around for her first scoring pass. High fives going on from the Brazil blocking line because number 12, Annie, where is she going? She's going to the notorious penalty box.
That's right. And in the meantime, G scoring.
G clutching her midriff there. She might have gotten a low elbow or just run into something. And what she runs into is the amazing pivot play of, I believe that's Andrea.
She still picked up 5. Brazil now at 96, Portugal at 76.
Now some offensive blocking from Schrox. G getting through. Pack warning there, and G said, okay, enough. And you talked earlier, Patrick, about the fact that the jam doesn't end until that fourth whistle, and boy, did Annie Ware just take off.
Yeah, she knew she had to get through. She knew someone was about to call it off. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't pick up any points. And still in the notorious RED penalty box, there are 2 blockers from Portugal and 1 from Brazil. So an advantage here for Brazil, definitely coming out roaring for the second half.
And something I've noticed is they've actually moved the penalty box up about 10 feet because originally it was back by the stands. And I think that can really call for a change of strategy from time to time as cutting the track is called against the Brazilian blocker, or excuse me, the Brazilian jammer. Thank you. Picante.
The Portuguese.
Oh, geez, hello. The one that speaks Portuguese. Oh, Patrick.
And here comes Nunda on a scoring run. 1 blocker only for Portugal. Nunda makes quick work of that 1-woman pack and picks up 5.
Nunda has been the absolute superstar for Brazil.
Whew.
And that's what you call a no touch, just go on through.
Absolutely. Her pack was there to open the door for her.
Amazing offensive blocking by the Brazilians. And Nunda able to get through the block there, and the Portuguese jammer is out of the box. Big hit. Tati takes her down. So let's see, 0 on the board for Portugal. Brazil, watch those numbers grow.
Yeah, Brazil really making a run for it in the second half. Portugal has not scored yet in the second half. In the last 5 minutes. Brazil, however, from 76 to 120. So 46-point run for the Brazilian team right now the second half.
And so many times you see it in sports where that halftime adjustment will make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and it really has for Brazil. Oh, but look at that.
Portugal out to the lead jammer as it's number 314. That's Blood Runner. Blood Runner runs right into the back of She, otherwise known as Sky Hulk. Good name for a jammer. holding call against
Bianca.
the Brazilian jammer, so she'll take a seat in the notorious penalty box. And now, great opportunity for Portugal.
Yeah, absolutely. Portugal has not scored yet. Now 10 points so far on this power jam for the Portuguese team.
Offensive blocking to the inside. And making her way through. Blood Runner picking up another 5. The pack set up right between turns 3 and 4. And powering her way through is Blood Runner. And when she couldn't power all the way through, she calls it off.
So 18-point jam right here for Team Portugal. You know, they had not scored yet. Of course, I had to talk about it. And then what happened? They scored. Roller Bones. They have a new signature series for Rogue Runner number 22 of the London Roller Girls. Find out more on rollerbones.com. Brazil now at 120, Portugal at 94, 13:34 left in the second half, and I believe we have a timeout. We have
official timeout.
Yeah. Which gives me a great opportunity to tell you about Fast Girl.
Oh,
Fast Girl.
I know Fast Girl skates.
I bet you do.
They're
being
awesome.
From the West Coast. Yes. First brick and mortar store specializing in roller derby, knowledgeable advice, educational tips, and classes. FastGirlSkates.com.
I love seeing Knee High Nightmare on their ad. She's amazing. And also amazing, Annie Ware. As Bianca will take a seat in the notorious penalty box, Portugal with a power jam.
Yeah, tough run for Bianca in this half.
And a back block, the call against Annie Ware, so she has to take the full circuit of the track.
Yeah, past the point, which will string up Bianca, but mind you, there are 2 blockers sitting in the box for Brazil as Bianca is about to come back onto the track. She will have to perform her initial pass, but only 2 blockers to help her in a full pack for Portugal.
Bianca trying to take the outside line, but that is just a mean white wall. Brazil tried to make the pack back where they were, and it actually worked.
Tough run for Bianca. She gets a forearm call where she's going right back to the penalty box.
Right back where she started from.
Yep. And here goes a star pass for for Anywhere, faking a star pass. Nope, she passed it. She passed it. She had performed the initial pass, so this is a scoring run for the now Portuguese jammer. Number 2, Pinky Swears.
Pinky Swears showed some excellent blocking earlier.
Absolutely.
And with those brilliant red pads making her way through. And sometimes that size, when the blocker ends up as a jammer, it'll work for you.
Yep, fresh legs. She was thinking I would call it off, but she's not the lead jammer. Bianca out of the penalty box. She thought she was the lead jammer, and oh Lord, I think she may be going back. Nope.
The jam came to an end.
My God.
I think I was confused on that one.
This is when you can never be too thankful that 2 minutes are up.
Let's just recycle ourselves.
Yeah.
Picante against G. I must admit I like the Brazilian names. G also goes by Wasp, playing for the Gray City Rebels of Sao Paulo. G going to the outside, Picante trying the inside, then they'll switch positions and breaking out of the pack. Portugal will get the lead jammer with Picante. Yep. Still fighting her way back there is G, but Picante looking to pick up some points, and a lot of the Brazilians were distracted by their own jammer.
Yeah, G just ducked 2 really big hits right there.
And Picante will call it off. Business done.
Yeah, absolutely. Brazil now stuck at 120 for the past 3 jams, while Portugal roars back. Portugal 112, Brazil 120. 10-15 left in the second half. You know, it looked like Brazil was going to run away with it, and then Portugal woke up. 46-0 run early in the second
Wow.
half for Brazil.
Wow.
And now stuck at 120.
So Nunda will try to get them off that schneid, while Blood Runner for Portugal. And Blood Runner is the lead jammer. Nunda finally getting out to the back of the pack on her first pass. Blood Runner tried the jump, found herself forced out of play, calls it off, so no penalty there.
2 points.
2 points will work at this point.
Absolutely.
Slowly crawling back into it as timeout is called by Brazil.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but if I were Brazil, that's what I would do too. Yeah, to stunt that momentum, that really good momentum that Portugal is on. Portugal at 114, Brazil at 120. They roared back. Holy cow. They had a hard time early in the second half, but they came back and they said, hey, we're not done yet.
Team West Indies getting ready to go.
And I bet you they carry the skates on the Bruise Skate News, which is the original over-the-shoulder skate holder. Find out more at bruisesn.com.
Some of the Brazilian fans making their presence known. Such color in the audience. It's just great to see. I love some of the outfits. The Australian glitter fans, I think, are my absolute favorite with the dresses. Absolutely.
And I'm sad to say, Cecil, that not all games are as exciting score-wise as ours, because at the halftime, over on another track, Scotland was leading Mexico 102 to 115. Scotland, of course, the team that took the unfortunate last rank at the 2011 London Thunder World Cup, roaring back, of course, coming back strong and really having an upper hand on Mexico.
Experience helping there as we are on the roll line track at the Blood and Thunder World Cup. And your lead jammer is Nunda, bringing that experience from the Philly Roller Girls, helping out Team Brazil. Penalty called inside the pack there as Nunda will continue on.
Yeah, that's number 48.
The Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Nunda on a great run here. The Portuguese jammer just got out now. That's her initial pass. Nunda on a 10-point run so far. She's going to go for more.
That timeout perfectly timed. You called it, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a almost tough pass on that last one, as the entire Brazilian pack was in the back, when technically I bet she was trying to tell him, go to the front, go to the front, go to the front, so I can pass the Portuguese blockers, but they stayed in the back and she still picked up those points. Good on Nunda.
So now Brazil takes the momentum.
Yeah.
And it will be Mila, aka Psycho Pixie, who plays her roller derby in Maui for the Maui Roller Girls, up against Picante, who has been doing jammer duty all day long for Portugal. Mila approaching back, getting a little bit of help. Always nice to have the escort through there.
Low block call on 13-14. That's Picante.
Picante.
Sitting in the notorious RD penalty box for a low block.
So now Brazil on the power jam.
Yep, again.
They were stuck on that 120 for a while. No longer stuck there at all.
No, they're at 139 now, and counting.
Mila just spreading out the pack, powering her way through for the points and the grand slam. Brazil just opening the door, allowing her to power through again. And the offensive blocking that's coming in there was Leal, and Leal laid out some of the Portuguese blockers.
Yeah, beautiful pass there where the jammer engaged the pack on the outside, and the two Brazilian blockers rushed the same way that jammer was going into, and then the jammer simply changed direction and went to the inside.
Picante out of the penalty box, tried to sneak some points there. Did not pick up any.
Nope, no such luck. Brazil now at 149. Portugal 115, 6.5 minutes left in the second half of this Group 2
The
matchup.
pace of this game has been unlike anything we've seen in this competition so far. I mean, you could see actual fatigue from some of the players because they've just been going at it so hard.
I think that comes from getting pounded like that.
Yeah. Both jammers slowly making their way to the front, but Portugal will take lead jammer status with Blood Runner G right on her tail.
Whew. She gets rid of her, pushes it to the inside, and then takes off.
Blood Runner with a little miscommunication with her blocker. She was trying to move her blockers to one side. You can see a little bit of frustration in her face.
Well, because she gave away 2 points. The Brazilian jammer picked up 2 points, and the lead jammer was the Portuguese jammer. Ouch. Let me tell you about my Bonds, which is, of course, the Bond lighter, stronger, faster skate. You can customize your Bonds at www.bont.com/quad/mybonds.
I can only imagine the roller skates that you have. They're probably fabulous. And we have a Portuguese lead jammer this time in number 12. That's Anywhere. Anywhere approaching the back of the pack. Thought she got some quick points, but now she's going to have to work for it as cutting the track called against Nunda. So she'll take a seat in the notorious penalty box. 2 Brazilian skaters in there.
Yeah, the power jams were really what gave Brazil a hard time earlier in the second half, as Bianca was the jammer that kept on going in and in and in at the penalty box, and now here goes Nunda. So good on the Portuguese blockers for causing those penalties.
Anywhere picking up some more points as a huge tumble.
And now here goes Anywhere to the notorious RD penalty box right before she was trying to call off the jam. She picked up a track cut.
Back into action is Nunda. And once again, that amazing blocking and a little bit of extracurricular activity afterwards. Woo. And they're going to call that against Nunda.
And Nunda is going to go back to the penalty box. A second penalty in the same jam for Nunda, who skated relatively clean in the first half. Now picking up 2 penalties in a row. Springs up Anywhere back into action. She's completed her initial pass long ago, and there are 17 seconds left in this half. Let's see what she can do with it.
Portugal just hanging back, allowing Anywhere to take care of her own business. She takes a deep breath and comes back around for another scoring pass.
5 seconds.
Let's see how many points she can get in here. They've got her bottled up, but she was able to pick up a couple of points at the end there.
The whole thing. 5 points. 5 points for Anywhere. Definitely a key jammer for the Portuguese squad. Anywhere, of course, out of Roller Derby Porto in southern Portugal.
3 minutes to go. It's about...
well, it's 16 points.
16 points. Thank you. Yeah. Your math kicked in. My mad cow kicked in. Here we go. It is Picante out there starting the jam in a power jam, but she is joined very quickly out of the penalty box, and into lead jammer is Nunda. That was a swift move.
Yeah, she kind of had to get it. She had to get it, and I bet she felt like she almost had to get it because she'd committed those 2 penalties, and there she goes, calling it right off. 4 points, padding that lead. Ever so important, especially when there's 2:20 left in the first half. So Brazil now 155 and Portugal 135, 20 points in 2 minutes.
It seems like there's a little bit of trash talking going on out there too, because I'm seeing some face-to-face stuff.
Are you surprised?
Well, they all speak Portuguese.
Exactly, so they understand.
So making her way is Blood Runner. Blood Runner is the lead jammer for Portugal. And finally, the Brazilian jammer breaking out of the pack, that is G. But Blood Runner easily picking up 4 points
Yeah, and
she'll call it off.
Yeah, she cannot call it off quickly enough. Either she was going to bank that her blockers were going to hold the Brazilian jammer and try to keep going, but that's a really tough bargain, especially when there's a minute and a half left on the clock. They're going to try and get the opposite jammer to commit a penalty so they can get that power jam.
So here's how we stand. 139 for Portugal, 155, 109 to go in the game. It is Nunda against Anywhere on what could be the last jam of this game.
Yeah, 2-star jammers laying it all on the track. You don't want to leave anything out.
Anywhere pushed to the outside and getting out for the possible points here and possibly being able to seal the deal is Nunda. Whew. She basically just has to keep scoring, and this one will be in the books.
Yeah, and more importantly, don't go to the box.
Nunda just very calmly going through, using finesse, using the sideways skating. That was just beautiful for the Grand Slam. 21 in the game, 117 in the jam. Nunda getting ready to light a victory cigar.
Oof, Nunda, oh. That looked like it hurt, and suddenly she woke up.
She's okay.
Yep, she's okay. That was number 84, Andrea.
And the clock runs out, and the jam is called off, and the Brazil with your victory.
Yeah, Brazil, a hard-earned victory from the Brazilian team. That's a win, and congratulations to the Brazilian team. However, it's not over for the Portugal team because they are part of Group 2, which includes France, those two teams, and Switzerland. And the top two teams that will move forward are the ones with the biggest point differential of the 3 games that they will have played. So it can still happen for Portugal. If I were Brazil, I would not be I would not be resting on this one, and I would go, just put the pedal to the metal for the next 2 games if they want to make it through the knockout round.
Patrick, it has been an absolute pleasure to call this bout with you, and we're going to get some instant analysis from some pretty good guys coming up.
Yep, Bob and Statman, over to you, trackside. This is one game you want to analyze.
Absolutely.
And hi, this is Bob Notches once again with Statman. And Statman, tell us, what are we looking at right here on track number 1 at the moment?
Well, the elation we saw from Team Brazil still going on right behind us. That was, I think, them just winning second place in that group. I think that bout was the battle for second, and Brazil have just samba'd their way through to the knockout stage.
Nice.
I had to say it.
What else you got there?
Well, France won their first round bout in this group, and I think what we saw from France was a lot more than what we saw last time from France,
Yeah, there's no question about that. France last time, they come in, and they look okay. I think we actually thought they would mix a little better with some of the other European teams. This year, they came to play, and we saw that out of the men's team, too. So we know Derby overall has hit a new height there.
That's right. The French have reached an absolute new level with roller derby. They have a large number of WFTDA teams there in France, and that's only growing. They're turning into a derby power in Europe, as one would expect. But let's move on to Group 1 now, which we were also on this track earlier.
Okay?
And just to remind you, Group 1 was New Zealand, Norway, Wales, and South Africa. Now, New Zealand beat Norway, and that's a result that probably doesn't surprise anyone. And, of course, it's a wonderful thing to watch a haka first thing in the morning, right, Bob?
There's nothing quite like a haka first thing in the morning. The other thing, too, is we remember New Zealand as being a physical team. They didn't hold up on Norway at all.
No, they didn't. They left nothing back. That was a brutal bout. But it was an exciting bout, and it showed what New Zealand had. And then the next bout, Wales came on against South Africa, and that was two X factors. We've seen Wales play in Europe, but their current play in Europe was not what one would like from Wales. They underperformed in 2 straight tournaments, if I may be so bold as to say they underperformed. And South Africa were a total X factor. And that bout, Wales showed a completely different team. They showed that they knew what they were doing. They had done the drills. They had done the practice. They're going to be a contender.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. They started out a little slow against South Africa. South Africa, quite honestly, looked very good considering we didn't really know what to expect from them.
Well, I spoke with a couple of South African skaters, and they said the number one thing they've been drilling is endurance. That there's nothing they can do about knowing all of the strategies, but they can definitely nail down being able to skate longer and harder than their opponents.
Well, if you got endurance down, you've got discipline and basics down, you're always in a game. So they look pretty good. Wales, again, from the level of men's, we've seen Wales escalate its game overall. And what else? You got anything else there for us? That's why he's the stat man.
That's why I'm the stat man. Well, that's all that we've had on this track. On the other track, Scotland is finishing up their win against Mexico. And I hear that Ireland have finished defeating Spain, setting up an Ireland-England bout that is going to be absolutely thrilling. And that's over in Group 6. In Group 5, we've seen Australia and Belgium both take a win against Italy and Greece, respectively. And in Group 7 and 8, Canada and USA, of course, won as one would expect. But in Group 7 and 8, the excitement is going to come down to that do-or-die bout.
Yeah, you have to remember, Group 7 and 8 only have 3 teams. So they're up against the superpowers, basically. It's going to be a fight between those other 2 teams to get in.
Well, and no one can advance from those groups on score difference because someone is going to win and someone is going to lose between those bottom 2 teams. And someone's going to advance simply based on that one bout, as opposed to these groups where you've got 3 bouts to sort it out. Those are going to be exciting, Bob.
That's right. So you've got myself, Bob Noctis. I'm here with Statman. We are in Dallas enjoying the Blood and Thunder Roller Derby World Cup. And should we take them back to the regular scheduled programming?
Sounds good to me, Bob.
All right, sounds good to me too.